Hello, how is everyone doing? My name is Oliver, again with another video. I am sorry for the lack of uploads. I know I normally upload every 2-3 days, but now it's been about a week and I haven't uploaded anything. I've been super busy with the program, the agency, doing a bunch of hiring and stuff like that, and wanted to focus a bit more of my time on helping the students of the program. But I am back, and today's video is something that I realized as I'm helping other people build their agencies and scale it to $10,000. I realized that in order to really build an agency to $10,000, there's one thing that you should be doing. All right, this one thing is, for some reason, no one is doing it. I don't know, not no one, but most people aren't doing it, at least when they're starting out. And I think this can be a big mistake. And it's probably one of the biggest things that holding you guys back from actually making those big numbers. And not just 10,000. I know I always say 10,000, but you use this system, you can easily scale it to $50,000, $100,000 per month. It's going to take some time, but if you implement what I'm going to be teaching today, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to scale it within a month, 2 months, max 3 months, your business into $10,000 per month. It is easier said than done. This is something that, let's say I had to start my agency from scratch, right? I had nothing. This is exactly what I would do in order to scale it to $10,000 as quickly as possible. All right, so here we are on my favorite application once again. I'm not going to make this video too long. I want to get straight to the point and not waste your guys' time. But as I mentioned earlier, this is the exact method that I would use in order to scale a brand new agency. So if I were to start from scratch and I was looking for the quickest way to make my first 10,000, this is exactly what I would do. Now, I don't want to sound arrogant or cocky, but I feel like if I were to do, like actually start a new agency from scratch, by using this method, I'm fairly confident that I can make the $10,000 happen within 2 weeks. Right? I think it'd be a bit unrealistic to think that you could do the same if you're just starting out and you have no experience whatsoever in entrepreneurship. But give it maybe 2 months, 3 months, and you could easily replicate these results. So let's get straight to it. First of all, obviously, you have to pick a niche. That's the basics. Everyone knows that when you start any type of business, the best thing to do is to pick a niche. You become the specialist in that industry. For me personally, I look for niches that are high ticket and are in demand. Once we pick our niche, we move on to the offer. We want to be able to charge a high ticket service. All right, you're not going to get rich by selling $50 programs. If you're looking to really scale to those big numbers, so $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 per month, it's not going to happen by charging low ticket. It can happen, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. All right, so we want the quickest way, and the quickest way is by charging high ticket. If you don't know how to charge high ticket, you have to provide as much value as possible in order to justify that cost. I made a bunch of videos on how to create your irresistible offer. This is crazy important. Ideally, we want to be making at least a 10x ROI on the client's investment with us, meaning that if I charge them $2,000 for my service, I want to make them at least $20,000 in ROI. It's a lot easier to justify your service if you are doing that. Once we have the offer down, we move on to the next part. This, by far, is the most important part in this whole agency model, SMMA, any type of business you decide to start. Volume is the most important thing. Nothing else except the volume matters. How much volume, how much output can I put out there in order to scale my agency? And when I say volume, I obviously refer to volume of outreach. Whether it be cold calling, cold email, cold DM, whatever outreach method you guys decide to do, volume is the number one most important thing. The amount of people who tell me, Oliver, I did 20 cold calls today. Look, I'm doing so good. 20 is nothing. It's not good. You have to be doing close to 100 cold calls per day, just like on your own. If you have no clients and your agency isn't running and you have nothing else to do, there's no excuse for you not to be making those crazy high numbers of cold calls. What else is there to do for your business? Once you have the basics down, like all that's left is cold calling. So all of your free time should be spent cold calling to acquire more customers. There's a formula that I believe Alex Hormozy presented in one of his video. It basically says volume times skill equals your results. So when you're starting off, your skill, your sales skill is not very high, right? It's normal. You're just starting off and there is going to be a learning curve, but there's nothing really to do to get around this, right? If you're starting from scratch, unless you have a good foundation in sales, the skill will always be very low. So how do we compensate for that? We do high volume, right? So someone who's very skillful, very good at selling is not going to need as much volume of outreach in order to achieve those same results. You're just starting off, you're brand new, you maybe don't have the experience when it comes to selling over the phone or just doing your cold DM or whatever outreach that you're basically using. Since you don't have the skill, which is fine, we have to focus on the volume, which is why I keep saying that this is the most important part. I know I'm spending lots of time on this, but I feel like this is something that's very overlooked. People will spend hours and hours perfecting their website, but they're not willing to put that same amount of time into their outreach. Once we've established that volume is the most important thing in my business, how can I achieve that? How can I achieve a crazy amount of volume? Because me physically, maybe I can do 75 to 100 cold calls per day, but it is time consuming and I am limited in the amount of calls I can do per day. All right, I'm a human. It would be impossible for me to do 500 cold calls per day. So we do what I call a highly leveraged prospecting campaign. This is divided into 3 parts, which is how do we source the leads? So where do we find our leads? Like who are we going to call? Who are we going to DM? Who are we going to email? I'll keep using from now on the example of cold calling because that's what I do. That's what I teach people to do. But this can be applied for any outreach method. All right, so how am I going to source my leads to call? This is very important. I need a script if I'm going to be cold calling. I'm going to need a script, not only any script, but a script that has been proven to work. This is why I said earlier that I believe that I could scale this agency in 2 weeks because I already know what works and what doesn't work. You're going to have to figure that out. I made a video on my script. That one works. Over time, as you use it, you will learn to adapt it and kind of switch it for your specific niche because one niche might receive your script very well, but the other one might not very much. All right, so you're going to have to adapt it a bit, but you need a script that has been proven to work, okay, a system that works. And you also need some sort of follow-up system. All right, so once we cold call, we get the feedback. Most of the time is, can you send me an email? And then from there, we need some sort of follow-up system. Once we have that down and we understand how we're going to conduct this prospecting campaign, basically this yellow squares refers to this prospecting campaign. Now we move on to the next part, which is highly leveraged. So how can we be highly leveraged? This is what I would do personally. Hire 5 to 10 commission-based cold callers. So if I have 5 to 10 commission-based cold callers, I 5x'd to 10x'd my amount of volume, which is the most important thing. All right, my skill is not there. I am not good at cold calling, so I have to focus on volume. How can I increase the volume? I physically can do X amount of cold calls per day, but if I hire 5 to 10 people, I just multiply it by 5 to 10, my amount of outreach, my amount of volume. Obviously, you do have to pay them, right? They're employees. Typically, you can pay them about $50 per meeting. And I would highly suggest also to give them some sort of bonus commission for every client that actually converts. Make this bonus commission pretty high, all right? Don't be cheap. These people are going to build your agency. You want to build a good relationship with them. You want to reward them for their good work, so do not be cheap. I personally pay my people lots of money because I appreciate the effort that they put in into building my own business. Once you have those 5 to 10 commission-based cold callers, all right, and this is like a whole other video I could make, like how to find them. Normally you can find them on like Facebook groups and stuff like that, but it's not enough to just go on Facebook, type in who wants to be my cold caller, and then hire a bunch and then expect them to just build you a business and get you a bunch of meetings. It's not how it works. If I did that, I personally wouldn't be really cold calling anymore because my job would be now to monitor these cold callers, provide them the leads, make sure they're following the script, doing the follow-up system, and also training them. Lots of training. It's not just, here's the script, figure it out, and I'm not going to talk to you anymore. No, you need to be in contact with them pretty much every single day, have some sort of tracking sheet to see their performance and evaluate if that person is on the right track, or maybe you should provide them with additional training and stuff like that. But you are managing now a team of 5 to 10 people who are doing your outreach. By having those people, we move on to the next part, which is the amount of outreach you're doing per day. So let's say I did 75 on my own. This is what most people would do. They're like, no, I'm just going to do the cold calls myself. I'm very consistent. I'm hardworking. Maybe a week they do it, and then they get discouraged because the skill level isn't there and they need crazy amounts of volume to get any sorts of results. So they start slowing down. They do less cold calls. They do 50, and then it's 20, and then they just stop the cold calling process. All right, so by having commission-based cold callers, you ensure that that doesn't happen. And instead of having 50 to 75 cold calls per day, now you have 375 to 750 cold calls per day, which is absolutely insane. All right. And let's say we take a bad conversion rate of about 1% to get a meeting, not a client, a meeting, then we'd be looking at about 3 to 7 meetings per day. All right. This is crazy amounts of volume. And this is exactly why I say, if you have the experience and you know what you're doing, you can easily give them the tools that they need in order to scale their agency. You know how to hire, train, interview, vet, do the whole thing with your cold callers, make sure they're good, track their results, make sure they do enough volume every single day, book those meetings. If you want to take it a step further, you could hire a closer to help you, but this is something that you should be able to do on your own. Personally, I believe the whole meeting, like closing meetings, is one of the most important part, and I'm kind of scared of delegating that part, at least when I'm starting out, because I know personally I'm good at sales and I know my business more than anyone else. And because I really want to make this work, I know that I can convert those meetings very well. So you give me 3 to 7 meetings per day, and you can bet that within 2 weeks I can scale that agency to $10,000 per month. All right, so that is the game plan. If you guys didn't understand, the most important part is having the team members back you up in this whole process. A business, name me one huge business that is run by one person. You cannot, right? That's not how business works. You need people to help you. You need a team behind you. And this is something that I've come to realize, because when I started, I didn't have a team. I did the whole outreach myself. And I struggled for a while to get all of my meetings because I didn't have the volume. I did have the skill though, so I was kind of lucky. I did have sales training. I worked in sales in the past, so my amount of volume needed to get the results that I wanted wasn't as high. So I cannot imagine how someone who's brand new, who has no experience in sales, trying to do this on their own. All right, so get a script, try it out, make sure it works, make sure you're able to book a couple of meetings on your own. Even if you don't have any clients, just make sure it works. Hire those commission-based cold callers, train them. This is like a whole other thing you guys have to learn. All right, so that's why it's very important to have the foundation set before you start this whole thing, because it's easy for me to do it, but if you have no experience in nothing, in hiring, interviewing, training, vetting, providing the leads, being a leader, and doing all these things, it's going to be very difficult to do. But this is exactly what I would do personally in order to scale any new agency to $10,000 per month and even more. I mean, 50, 100, ideally that would be the goal. So yeah, if you guys are looking to implement something like this, feel free to apply to my program. This is exactly what I teach in my program. We do highly leveraged prospecting campaigns. I teach them how to source the leads. I give them scripts that have been proven to work. They have a follow-up system to use. They have access to a bunch of commission-based cold callers. I train them, I interview them, I give them the scripts, I give them everything they need, and they are pretty much ready to go. So I just place them in other people's agency and they start working. That's going to be all for today's video. I hope this was useful. I hope this puts into perspective of the importance of having commission-based cold callers, not even just commission-based cold callers, but just people in general that are there to help you build your business. instead of running to hire a media buyer right away for some reason, like I don't know why everyone does that, how about you focus on what's important, the step ahead of you, which is booking the meetings. What can I do to book those meetings? Right? I need volume. How can I get volume? I need team members to help me. Right? Very important. I hope this video was useful. Sorry for the lack of uploads. I'm going to try to be a bit more consistent, but hopefully this was a video that was worth the wait. All right, so thank you very much and see you on the next one.